Hi everyone, here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for a review of the new R.A.P Ferreira project, Purple Moonlight Pages. This is the newest full-length LP from rapper, poet, producer Rory Ferreira, aka Milo, aka Black Orpheus, aka Scallops Hotel, aka R.A.P Ferreira, now under this most recent pseudonym. Rory originally broke way back in 2011 under the name Milo, and for the rest of the decade he remained one of the most consistent artists in the underground. For Rory, this past 10 years has been quite a metamorphosis, moving from a fledgling hip-hop trio to a successful solo career, then from a short-lived but beloved hip-hop collective, and now he runs his own label, YACHT. His sound over this course of time has evolved quite a bit too. At one point, many of his songs ran very lighthearted and nerdy, and the further Milo went down the road, the more abstract, experimental, heady, and almost difficult to wrestle with his work became. Not to say he's gotten worse, but processing some of his songs feels like the hip-hop equivalent of reading some Immanuel Kant. That's more or less been the phase he's operated in as of late, and when releasing music as Scallops Hotel, he seems to be more concerned with just being out in the fray than being coherent. But Milo seems to be gaining a new focus on this latest project of his over here, which features production, programming, and live instrumentation from not only Kenny Siegel, but also California's Jefferson Park Boys. And I'm very happy to hear about this instrumental changeup, as I think Milo is starting to slowly push himself into a corner by dropping one loopy SP404 sermon after another, which it's a great piece of hardware and is absolutely legendary and super versatile as well, but the added instrumentation and the added production brains on this just makes the instrumental palettes on this thing a lot more dynamic. So what Rory is doing now off of that changeup is coming through with a robust and slick album of just one jazz rap track after another, really throwing it back to the genre's most significant forms and doing them an incredible amount of justice. Now, of course, jazz rap is far from dead. The genre had some amazing highlights in the 2010s, from T-Pab to the return of A Tribe Called Quest with that great final record. Also, new envelope pushers like Injury Reserve. And with his own sound, in his own way, Rory is making sure the genre puts its best foot forward into the 2020s. This album is 18 tracks long, and a vast majority of them are clever, curious, and classy, charismatic too, from end to end. The track Decorum is essentially a statement of intent for the album, also a very dramatic proclamation of those involved with the record too, as Rory sounds like some kind of hip-hop philosopher king. Also on the track, he calls out the fence-building nihilists, which seems like a pretty obvious nod to our current political and social state. While I'm sure a lot of old heads could get down with the sound and the vibe of this project, it's still very much for modern times. Greens is the first real taste we get of music on this record, and of course it is backed up with these jazzy keys, fat beats, nimble bass, a superb amount of flow and personality coming from Rory. Yeah, he is not reinventing the jazz rap wheel, that much is clear, but his experience and ability at this point speaks volumes here. He is no longer the young Padawan lyricist we knew back in 2011. He is now someone who has made it through the most transformational and saturated decade in hip-hop history, and he sounds like it. While there isn't a whole lot of conceptual or thematic focus to many of these tracks, Rory is constantly dropping all of these great mindset gems. A warrior doesn't need to test their mettle, stay blessed, and then he kissed every petal. Found the pain quite humbling. You know the self is defined by the struggling. All these scattered lines, ideas, suggestions, points of view, they all coalesce into a greater ethos that's essentially given out in pieces. Just small nuggets reflecting on the world, life, the human condition, and beyond. Considering this, Rory is a creative descendant of acts like Diggable Planets, as well as De La Soul, and basically anything Madlib has touched, which is true of his past work as well, but it's manifesting itself in a different way here. One more thing to keep in mind here is that there aren't a whole lot of hooks or traditional structures to this project, something I want to say even if Rory and abstract hip-hop fans are just accepting that as a given, though there is a very dreamy and alluring hook on the track Leaving Hell, which is very jazzy and pretty. Still, what I want to say is that the choruses are not entirely necessary on this project, as they are easily made up for with great lyrics, good flows, grooves, humor, versatility, nasty and detailed production, like the gorgeous Omens and Totems, which borders on spoken word over ambient music at some points. Some of the instrumental shifts on this track too are quite cinematic. The song Dust Up later on the record takes on an ambient tone too, but this one even darker, and Rory on top of it sounding more authoritative and stern than I think he's ever been. With Absolutes, we get some very clunky boom bap with plucky, strange instrumentation that makes the groove even harder. This one is a total head bobber laced with record scratches. Oh, and the instrumental on U.D.I.G, it just makes me go, especially once those dusty, distant pianos and grand string sections swoop in, just making it sound like Milo's verses are commanding this orchestra. There are further highlights on the record that are worth going over because each song really does have its own instrumental palette and emotional quality, such as the surreal dream state-like lyrics on the song Pinball, where it at least feels like Milo is rapping from a strange place. He eventually arrives at a refrain where he's tributing Zev Love X or MF Doom, one of his obvious influences. The track also features these wonderfully weepy string samples and a solid open mic eagle appearance too. On the track An Idea is a work of art. Lyrically and vocally, Milo sounds totally off of his rocker, easily his most eccentric set of bars on the entire project, and it's set over an instrumental that sounds like a jazzy lullaby. The track No Starving Artists has a beat that is almost danceable. It's almost like an allusion to hip house. It reminds me of what Gold Link's music would sound like if it were just better, and was also trying to cross over to like nerdy backpackers. The song Laundry feels more like a classic Milo moment in my opinion, as it's pretty light on the ears and not too emotionally heavy or anything like that, and Milo lyrically is just kind of focusing on laundry, making all sorts of funny references and also trying to pull anything metaphorically out of that concept that he can. And on Cycles, Milo puts forward what sounds like a very despondent series of experiences releasing his stuff, just operating in the music industry. He mentions not just wasting time with the wrong people, but also depicting artists as just fighting against the injustice of the world, but being battered and bruised because their weapons are essentially like brushes and pens. The track is very gripey, I will say that, but I can't deny he's spitting facts. So of course, with this track list being a bit scattered and 18 songs long, there are going to be some cuts that are just a little underwhelming, and in the case of Purple Moonlight Pages, there are moments that feel just a bit too standard or low risk for this style, a little sleepy. Golden Sardine, Row Talk, unfortunately, and also Doldrums, even though I do appreciate the concentrated moodiness of that track. But the most awkward moment on the album has to go to the casually sung outro Master Plan. The singing just isn't very good. However, the track seems to be a Pharoah Sanders cover on which the singing is a little unorthodox anyway, but the way Milo is giggling over various parts of his own rendition here makes me wonder, how seriously is he taking the track and what exactly is he laughing at? Is he laughing at himself, his own weird performance of the song, the track's message of a creator having a master plan? I mean, I assume he genuinely enjoys it, but there are points where he seems to be saying the lyrics in a somewhat tongue-in-cheek way. Either way, I'm not totally surprised by the tone and the delivery of this cover, as Milo tends to be a bit of a post-ironic conundrum. Having said that, this is easily one of Milo's best projects, one of the best rap releases we've had so far this year, and as I stated very clearly earlier, just a damn good jazz rap album, with plenty of spots that come off funny or insightful, conscious, as well as abstract. And despite the lack of a big, clear concept pulling all of these tracks together, somehow they all add up into one of Milo's best self-portraits ever. Feeling a light to decent 8 on this one, Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you should check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, R.A.P. Ferreira, forever.